welcome to episode 24 of the Fusion Cast. This week we're going to be talking about our upcoming version 2.5 release, which is going to be announced on March 30th. That is the current date, which we're holding to. So unless something changes, we're striving or moving towards March 30th as the announcement date. We have not one, but two special guests today. I'm joined as always by my co-host Pete, coming to us today from yet another secure undisclosed location where he's been delivering some content to our business partners. So we've got two hosts or two guests with us today, Bill Stoddard and Matt Kelm, a couple of teammates who are the kind of chief architects behind the delivery process, release, feature set, roadmap, kind of product manager extraordinaire. So guys, thanks for taking a few minutes and joining us.
Hey, Randy, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. I thought probably the easiest way to do this is to kind of split it into, or we'll start with kind of talking about the software piece. So we'll go to you probably first, Matt, and then we'll kind of go through the software. Then we'll switch gears a little bit, talk about the HCI and the appliance, side of the house. And then we'll, come back together at the end and kind of, talk about some stuff that's common to both and sort of share some closing ideas. So with that, Matt, let me turn it over to you. Take us through what's coming in version 2.5 on the software side of the house, if you would.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. So what I thought I'd do is just create a simple note card here of the bullet points or simple points to make and add a little color around each one and hopefully give people an understanding of what's coming in version 2.5 of Fusion software. And so the first note here, Fusion Data Foundation. So folks are probably familiar with Red Hat OpenShift Data Foundation. This has been something that if you purchase Fusion software, you've been entitled to, and essentially we're able to go and get access through Red Hat to that code and deploy it as one of the capabilities of Fusion. And that was really a standalone product. The lifecycle was managed independently from Fusion to some extent. And people are also probably aware that at the beginning of the year, the Data Foundation team joined IBM. So we're grateful to have an awesome set of teammates. And as part of that, they've started to work to integrate Data Foundation more formally into Fusion. So it will be delivered as a component of Fusion. And that the first release where that's going to happen is here in the first quarter 2.5 release. So of course, a lot of that is, you might hear us internally refer to this as blue washing. A lot of that is just IBM process that we have to go to deliver an IBM product. But there are some nice benefits to that clients will realize. So things like, you think about requesting a trial for Fusion. Now that's a streamlined process where you're getting access to a key. Those images live in the IBM registry, and it just makes it much a simpler process than dealing with the Red Hat fulfillment system and IBM fulfillment system. Things like documentation, going to the IBM Fusion documentation page and not being redirected to the Red Hat documentation page. Just a much better experience to work through using the product. Lifecycle support, all of those things coming through IBM directly. So some nice benefits as a result of that. So it's not just a process, although there's plenty of that to go with it. There's some good benefits for our clients in that statement. Fusion gets advanced. So again, I'll frame this in expecting that folks are familiar with Red Hat OpenShift Data Foundation and its additions. So they deliver a subscription as Essentials or Advanced. And so Essentials having sort of the base set of capabilities with Data Foundation, and then Advanced adding additional capabilities. So as I mentioned, Fusion has previously bundled Red Hat Data Foundation, and that was the Essentials edition or those capabilities. Starting in our first quarter release of this year, so 2.5, Fusion will contain those advanced capabilities, or how Red Hat has qualified those as advanced capabilities. And I'll step through examples of those capabilities. We don't, or we will not at this point with Fusion, have an Essentials edition and an Advanced edition. It's just Fusion. So the point is, starting with 2.5, you will have the capabilities that have come with both Essentials and Advanced within Fusion. So examples of those capabilities, maybe thinking about I guess, Pete, we talk about it as sort of the pillars of capabilities within Fusions and within Fusion. So one of those pillars is security. So advanced capabilities under security would be like volume level encryption, and external key management would be some of those capabilities. Thinking about storage, Red Hat or ODF would have a notion of external mode. You could compare this in Fusion today to what we call global data platform, where we can remote mount to a storage scale system. The same exists in Data Foundation, where you can essentially connect in external mode to an IBM Ceph cluster. Why would you do that? A few use cases. One, a shared storage cluster that you have multiple OpenShift clusters connecting into and taking advantage of. Another would be mixed workloads. So yes, we have applications. We're focused on delivering and building those applications out in OpenShift, but of course, there's still applications running and potentially using that same data and running in a VM, let's say. So that would be another use case available through external mode. The resiliency pillar. So as I'm talking about adding the advanced capabilities, we'll move to the next statement. So resilience. Really excited about the first quarter release of Fusion software will contain a Metro DR scenario that goes GA. So that's been something in tech preview that will now be a GA capability. And it is actually taking advantage of that external mode IBM Ceph under the covers. We also have regional disaster recovery, which would be part of that. That is still in tech preview. So we look forward to the GA of that capability in the months ahead. But you can see that building out that resilience pillar within Fusion software. And more. There's other things happening with regard to expanding platforms. One of the things we're going to add in the first quarter is ZCX or Z container extension. So being able to run Fusion Data Foundation in that model, which would allow you to really interact with your more traditional Z application, mainframe applications with in a more consistent operational model to those applications. Similar to Data Foundation, we had a Spectrum Discover as a standalone operator that was built at the end of last year. That is now being included as a service within Fusion. It will be named data cataloging. So we're able to take advantage of unstructured data and adding metadata to that and cataloging it for use with applications. We had a great use case with Cloud Pak for Data, where Cloud Pak for Data is doing this really well today with structured data. And now combining that with the capabilities of Fusion data cataloging and adding that unstructured data into a unified catalog and view for the client to deal with things like PII or GDPR type use cases. So some good things there. And that actually is a capability that isn't unique to Fusion software. It's also a service that runs on our HCI system. And I think that's a great handoff point for me to throw it over to Bill and say that we have this shared capability between Fusion software and HCI system, and to get more into the details of HCI.
Yeah. So before we do that, though, I gotta give Pete a minute to like crow about all the great things that were just announced coming out in version 2.5, because we've been talking all along about the obvious benefits of bringing ODF and Ceph into the IBM family of storage products. We've also simultaneously done this big rebranding and kind of re-messaging and shifting the way we tell the story and kind of shaping the narrative. And the results have already been really cool. And it's great to see that these things are rolling out much more quickly now than they might have otherwise. So I don't know, Pete, you want to kind of jump in here real quick?
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty exciting to see not only, Matt and Bill here to talk about the strength of the roadmap and the exciting times, integrating Red Hat storage into the portfolio, but also it's really cool to see the industry speak, with respect to our leadership here. And thanks to ODF, they've helped propel us into the #1 spot for container storage data services for Kubernetes. And this is for Kubernetes. This is not just OpenShift. This is the overall Kubernetes market. We are leading the market with 28, I believe it's 28.2%. The next closest competitor to us was at 11.1%. So we are.
Cue the sad trombone there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's thanks to the work of these two guys. I know that it's tiring, bone-breaking work for both of them. But
amen to that. Amen to that, but it's definitely paying off. So, all right, Bill, so let's shift gears and talk about the appliance. So this was the first, exposure to the market for Fusion. It was the first product we launched. It was the first one that somebody bought. And, a bunch more of them have been sold now. So what's coming in Fusion HCI?
Yeah, thanks, Randy. So we've been pretty successful with our Storage Fusion HCI system. So just to do a quick recap, it's the best way to think about it. It's a bare metal OpenShift cluster in a box, x86 servers, dedicated storage network. It is a system designed from the ground up to be an extremely high performance system. Featuring OpenShift bare metal, and you can buy one of these with a single part number from IBM. You can buy it in different sizes and roll it into your data center and get it up and running in fairly short order and have a production grade OpenShift cluster ready for whatever you want to run on it. It could be analytics, AI, ML ops, cloud packs, and so forth. So we've enhanced the system. So one of the feedback that we consistently get, it's a bare metal box, it's one cluster. It's like, well, I need dev test clusters, right? How can you give me dev test clusters? And we have an answer for that in first quarter. So we have a way to partition a rack and virtualize the bare metal servers in the rack with KubeVirt and OpenShift virtualization. And what we do is we drop IBM Cloud Satellite locations onto those virtualized servers. And what this lets you do is really, really quickly spin up IBM Cloud managed OpenShift clusters inside of your HCI box. So you can spin up these clusters, use them, spin them down, and support multiple clusters on a single box. So this is a really quick way to, get your feet wet with IBM Cloud. There's a lot of good stuff in the IBM Cloud catalog that you can deploy here, as well as your cloud packs or any other kind of workloads, dev test workloads that you might want to do. So this is going to be a real key way to get more value for our clients, to get more value of their HCI system, so they can still keep their big bare metal cluster, run the workloads that they want there, and they can set aside some of the bare metal servers to serve as cloud satellite locations, hosting one or more smaller OpenShift clusters. The next thing we have here, so we built this system as a production grade system. And if you need, if you say production grade, that means highly available. Applications running on the system need to be up 24/7 by 365 and 366 days a year in leap year. And we have already available today a capability called Metro DR. That's like a data replication, a synchronous data replication across data centers that are close to each other. The next iteration is what we call 3-zone HA. So the idea here is you can take 3 HCI racks and deploy them on 3 separate power grids and manage these 3 racks as a single OpenShift cluster, as a single data cluster, and put your workloads on top of it. So you could lose an entire rack. Workmen cut the power line, water dumps out of the ceiling on top of your rack, whatever, meteor hits it, you can lose a complete rack and your environment stays up and running. So for those of you familiar with, 3-zone HA deployments, that's a real common resiliency strategy for public cloud OpenShift. So we're making it possible to get that same level of resiliency inside the data center to create what is essentially a super resilient cluster for workloads. And you can actually take these 3-zone HA clusters and put them into a Metro DR relationship with a remote 3-node HA cluster if you want to do that, right? That's actually possible, and it's pretty. I think it's pretty astounding what you can do. The final thing I want to talk about here is, up till now, Fusion HCI system. You go into our Storm configuration experience and you dial in your cluster size, and that system is shipped to you fully rack stacked and cabled, ready to roll into your data center. Well, we're getting feedback. There's a lot of clients that have standardized on racks that are not what we use. They have their own PDU standards. They may have their PDUs, under unified management across their data center. And to enable those clients on Fusion HCI, we wanted to offer HCI in a rackless option. So you dial in your cluster size, you click, I don't want the rack, I'll bring it myself. And all the components will get shipped to you, on a pallet, in a crate, and the IBM SSR will show up on site and put this system together into your rack, that you manage yourself, that you have yourself. And that, for our IBM sellers, that reduces friction to a lot of clients. A lot of clients are they don't want to deal with something that veers outside of their hardware standards in the data center. So we eliminate that point of friction. And also it just opens up new sales for clients that need that freedom. And the other benefit to this is it'll take about $28K cost out of the rack itself. So, if you already have rack infrastructure, you've already made that capital investment, you've already purchased it, you can get that HCI experience without needing to pay for the rack. So that's a good option as well. So I think that's all I wanted to talk about for HCI. Back to you, Randy.
Chatting away there on mute. Sorry. The rate and pace at which the innovation is happening now, and features are becoming available and going GA and getting included into the product, and the maturity, kind of the accelerated maturity of these solutions is really cool. I mean, it's amazing if we think about sort of where we were a year ago versus where we are today, and everything that's happened in the interim, whether it's, bringing the Red Hat team over, the growth of public cloud deployment, the Cloud Pak integration, all these new features, platform support for Z, all this kind of stuff, which was, we were thinking about it a year ago, but we didn't, I don't think, have a very clear handle on delivery. Well, we clearly now have a better handle on the delivery. We're making these things happen. We're delivering on the roadmap. I'm also always impressed by the sort of hardening that goes into all of these solutions. We're talking about these massive OpenShift clusters. We've got clients that are running thousands of OpenShift clusters and, approaching millions of cores, right, of OpenShift. They're enormous. So they need the kind of resiliency that Bill was talking about. They need, the functionality Matt was talking about to be able to deliver those services at scale. I mean, how many times do we talk about modernization initiatives that fail because they just can't scale, right? They start out with a pilot, everything goes great, and then getting it from pilot into global scale production just creates too many headaches with scale and performance and manageability and availability. And, we're overcoming a lot of those things. So really, really cool. So to have a solution with this kind of flexibility that's hardened to this degree, it's pretty awesome. It's no wonder we're number one, really. I mean, one would expect us to be number one.
Yeah, I'll add to that too. I mean, we're number one in a couple of different ways too. I mean, the other part that we didn't mention as the Red Hat folks came over, and some of this we have to be careful with the information, but we have access to telemetry and rolled up telemetry that's anonymized. But we also understand from that telemetry for OpenShift clusters that we are number one by a wide margin. So we're getting multiple inputs, that we are definitely leading the market in this particular space. But you're absolutely right, Randy. I mean, even in just the 8 months I've been here, pace of change has gone like this.
Yeah.
And the problem I think it's presenting for us now is how do we take all this goodness that these guys are bringing to us, that Bill and Matt are bringing to us, and how do we message this to the market, because we have such good stuff right now. But that's a good problem to have, I would contend.
Yeah, agreed. It's a high quality problem. And in fact, so you and I have been kind of running around the country doing these symposium events. And, you're at one today. I was at one in Toronto last week. And I happened to be there the same day we were doing the big announcement event in New York City, which there'll be a replay available for that next week. So, it was a big deal. We had, Fast Company, the Wall Street Journal, it was kind of we made a big event out of it, which is cool. And it's frankly not something we do terribly often. So I think it was perceived as a big enough and significant enough event that it warranted that kind of attention. And it's great. I mean, to be able to go tell this story now and tell it in the framework of the whole portfolio, it's amazing. And it's also a realization of the, bringing together of IBM and Red Hat, right? I mean, obviously we spent a pile of money on Red Hat, and I think you're seeing in a pretty short time, right? If you think about the scope and scale and size of that integration, we're already seeing the benefits. We're seeing a lot of the investment thesis kind of coming to fruition in real life, which is pretty cool. So it's a lot of goodness. Guys, Bill, Matt, parting thoughts, comments, observations, ruminations?
No, come check us out if you like OpenShift. It's IBM's preferred hybrid platform of choice. Run your workloads anywhere, any public cloud, on-prem, looks and feels the same. And Fusion HCI and Fusion software just is a fantastic complement to OpenShift.
Amen. All right. So, gents, thank you for your time. We know you're super busy. We appreciate your taking a few minutes to join us and share your thoughts with the audience. This will probably be posted internally, kind of under pseudo embargo until the 30th when we announce it, and then we'll push it out onto the Shift Happens YouTube channel. So be on the lookout for it there. But again, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And we will talk to you next week on the next episode. As always, if you have any ideas for things you want us to cover or talk about in the show, send them to us and we will put them on the list. So thanks for watching and have a great day. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Randy.